In this video, we will see how to create a new roof type and assign it to an existing roof. We'll see how to add layers and adjust their thickness to define a complex roof build-up. And we'll also see how to add materials to those layers. I have the exercise file, Roof Types, open. And looking at the model, we'll create a new roof type for the main pitched roof on the building. We'll also swap the flat roof at the front for an existing type that's already been created. So we'll start by creating a new roof type. So first I'll select the main roof. And now looking at the type selector at the top of the properties palette, we can see that this is the generic 12-inch roof type. And to create a new roof type, we'll click the Edit Type button to access the type parameters of this generic 12-inch roof. And now at the top of the type parameters box, we'll click Duplicate to create the new type. And we'll name this one Wood Rafter 10-inch Slate Tiles. Then we'll click OK to save that name and the new type will be created. Now we need to edit the layers of the roof type. So from the type parameters on the construction panel here, we'll click the Edit button next to the structure parameter to access the edit assembly settings. So in here we can see we have the existing layer, the 1 foot thick layer that makes up our generic 12-inch wall. Before we make any changes, we'll click on the preview button at the bottom left here, as this will make it easier for us to see those extra layers being added in. First we'll edit the existing layer. So we'll change its material. It's currently set to be by category. So we'll click on here, and now from the button that appears, we'll click this to open up the material browser. At the top of the material browser here, we'll search for the term rafter. And then from the materials in the search results, we'll select the structure wood joist rafter with batt insulation. Then we'll click OK, and then this will be assigned onto our first layer. Next we'll change the thickness, so in the thickness column here we'll change this to be 10 inches. And now we're ready to add in the extra layers. So we'll add 2 layers. At the bottom of the layer box here, we'll click the Insert button twice to add those 2 layers in. And now we'll move those into the right position, so I'll select the core boundary at layer 1, and then we'll click the Down button twice, so that the 2 new layers that we've added are now above the core boundary. Now we need to edit our 2 new layers to assign them the correct material and thickness. So we'll start with layer 1 and we'll assign on the material. So again we'll click by category and then open the material browser from the button that appears. In the search box at the top we'll search for roof. And then from the search results here we may need to scroll down a little bit, but we can see the roofing slate material. So we'll select this. Now looking at its properties here on the graphics tab, we can see that it doesn't have a foreground surface pattern applied. So we'll apply one. We'll click on where it says none, and this will open up the fill patterns dialog box. And at the top here in the pattern type panel, we'll change it from draft into model. And now we'll search for slate. And we can see now that we have this slate tiles fill pattern. So we'll select this and say OK to assign this on to the foreground surface pattern. And then we'll click OK again to assign this material onto the layer. And next we'll change the thickness of the roofing slate layer to be 1.5 inches thick. And now we can see that layer in the preview. So we'll apply the material to the layer below, and this is going to be for the timber battens that support the slates. So we'll click on by category again, and then open up the material browser from the button that appears. And now actually just beneath the roofing slate material that we've got selected, we can see we have softwood lumber, so we'll select this one. And now looking at its graphic properties here, we want to add in a foreground cut pattern. As we can see there is none applied. So we'll select none next to the pattern, and then once the fill patterns opens up, we'll come and search for wood. And then we'll choose the Wood 1 fill pattern and then click OK to assign this onto the foreground cut fill pattern. So now we'll click OK to assign this material onto our layer. And next we'll change the thickness to be 1.25 inches, and then we can see that layer appear in the preview now. Now finally we just need to change the function. So we'll set the timber battens here to be a substrate, and then we'll set the slate tiles to be the finish for function. And that's all we need to do in here. So we'll click OK to save the changes to the assembly. And now we'll click OK again to save the changes to the roof type. And now we can see that that's been applied to the roof that we had selected when we started the process. And zooming in a little here, we can see the foreground surface pattern that we applied to the slate material. Now we just need to change the flat roof. So first I'll select this. And now looking at the top of the properties palette, we can see it's the generic 9-inch roof here. And clicking on the type selector, we can see we have various roofs available to us, including the one we just created. We'll select the wood joist 8-inch EPDM membrane insulated type. And we can see that update in the model. And that completes the work we need to do to our roofs.